How many people here have ever speeded while they were driving? Come on, raise your hand. Raise your hand. Okay. Now put them down. All right. Those of you who didn't raise your hands, there are only two options here. One is that you have never, ever driven a car before, or a vehicle of any kind. That's option one. Option two is that you're a liar, because there is no one who has ever driven a vehicle that has not ever speeded. And I'm not saying you intentionally were speeding. I'm not saying, oh, I'm going to go 80 and get there faster. No. Not that. I'm simply saying that, maybe you were dozing, just driving along, you get a long drive, you look at a long drive, it's, the speed limit's 65, and, you put your foot down, you adjust in your seat a little bit, and it pushes down on the accelerator, and you don't even notice. And you're going 66 for a good 10 minutes, and then you're like, oh shit, I better ease back on that. You were speeding. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, you were above the legal limit. Period. Right? So that means that you have speeded at some point in your life. Okay. And and that's my point then, is that speed limits are bullshit. They don't mean anything, and they don't stop anyone from speeding at all. They did a survey before Nixon. Nixon is the guy you have to thank for that. Tricky Dick. I am not a crook. He's the guy who implemented the speed limit laws. And so they did an analysis, the Department of Transportation, I think it was, the DOT. They did an analysis before and after of automobile accidents, see if anything changed. Nope. Nothing. Not one iota. Nothing statistically significant. And so, the only reason you pay attention to the speed limit, it's not because you're like, oh, I need to be morally conscious and drive at a safe limit so that my fellow travelers are safe, secure, and will not be harmed if there is a tragic accident. No, it's because the popo's coming for you. He's got a list, he's checking it twice, and if you're going 15 or over, it's going to cost you thrice. That's what's going on there. You don't care about safety for your fellow man at all. You just want to make sure the popo doesn't slap you with a big, fat fine that's going to take a very long time to pay off and cause untold problems down the line. And that's the point, is that, this system doesn't really work at all. They had this crazy system in a couple of towns in Germany, and they're trying it out in England and a bunch of other places. And basically, it's a shared road space. There are no signs at all. No crosswalk, no slow down, no children at play, nothing. And the theory behind this is that if you are, if you're driving, all of these signs don't actually give you any data that's relevant to the decision making that you're doing, other than going, oh, better be careful, don't want to break the law. No. If you have no signs, what you're worried about? Oh shit, I hope I don't hit someone. There's no distractions. You're not thinking about, oh, I hope that cop's not hiding behind the billboard. He's got his radar gun and he's a gunning for me. Ha 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 ha. No, it's all about, okay, now I can look out for things I can see that can blow shit up, that can fuck shit up, that can cause catastrophe. Those are the things that I'm looking at now. And so what I'm saying is that this might be a good model for towns. I'm not saying it's a good model for the highway. I think the highway is a great idea. You've got this big lane that just takes you all, straight up and down. You can get, it's fucking incredible. If you you can go from San Francisco, Bay Area, or my hometown, San Jose, I should say. You could take Highway 101 and go all the way down to LA. In one straight shot. Done. Do you know how fucking long it takes to cross England? Or New York State. New York State is fucking tiny compared to California. Do you know how long it took me to go from Cornell, which is not very far away from New York City, mind you. Do you know how long it took to go from Cornell to New York City on highways there? 6 fucking hours. In 6 hours, I can be halfway down California, which is bigger than New York, and much further than the distance from Cornell to New York City. So highways are a great thing. I don't think, I definitely don't agree. There should not be bicycles and pedestrians and, slower vehicles on it. That's fine. They're segregated. That's okay. Segregation of the traffic flow is a good thing. That's why we have pipes in our houses, and we don't put all the water into one of them. Some segregation is a good thing. And so my point is that you can't take for granted those safety features of everything. Not everything makes things safer. It just gives the illusion of safety. Take football helmets, for example. Football helmets are my favorite one. You know, I played rugby and football during high school, and basically what happened was I played rugby, which is, you know, everybody's like, oh shit, that's a fucking hard sport. You're gonna get your ass whooped. You know, no. I got injured maybe once a month, maybe, and it usually was like a bruise or a scrape, a little ding. You know what I mean? In football, I got injured every fucking day. Every fucking day, I had to go visit my good friend, who was also the trainer's assistant, you know, being a medical man, and have him perform various operations to get me into fighting shape. Every day. That was a ritual I had to do every day. And it's the illusion of safety. The illusion. All those helmets, the helmets and the armor and all that shit, it doesn't actually protect you. It doesn't protect you. It just makes you think, ha, I am now a tank in the shape of a man, and I'm going to go on a rampage. This summer, one man, one goal, no one will live. And that's what happens. You know, you grab the ball, and then you go. As hard, as fast, and as long as you can, until you can't. That's how you play football. And it's retarded. It doesn't, I don't have anything to say against the sport as a general idea. I think it's kind of cool, you know, that we've got our own thing that's ours, you know. But as far as the practicalities of it, it's retarded. You know, same thing with boxing. You know boxing gloves, right? Boxing gloves. I remember I was sitting in physics class and I was learning about compression and expansion and, you know, sort of time of contact over time, that sort of thing. And I was studying this equation, and I was looking at it and going, doesn't that mean that a fuck ton more energy is being transferred from something that compresses, like a boxing glove, to the target than would otherwise be achieved? And as it turns out, yes, that's very true, and that's why a lot more people die, have catastrophic, crippling injuries and brain damage, etc., now than they ever did back when it was bare-knuckle fighting. Bare-knuckle fighting looks way more horrific because you got all the breaking and the bones and the blood and all that sort of thing just kind of splattered everywhere. And, you know, that's why they were called blood sports, because, you know, there was blood. You could see that shit all over the place. And, you know, there'd be a stain here and there. Now it's all very clean-cut and it looks very nice, but fuck is it way, way worse. I mean, it's like the difference between fighting with knives and fighting with atomic weaponry. You fight with knives, people are going to get cut, they're going to bleed, and it's going to be messy. You drop an atom bomb on someone, and there ain't going to be nothing left. So it's not messy. It's very clean and tidy. Do you see the difference there? And so, you know, the safety measures that we have are just they're actually kind of like the Tinkerbell effect, if you think about it. You know, we believe that it will make us safer, and so we are. But we're not really. Not really. It's an illusion. It's just a gross illusion that no one in their right mind would ever, if they knew what was actually going on, would ever follow. You know, if they paid any attention to the science that underpins these ideas, they'd be like, holy shit, I'm so fucking stupid. I can't believe I did that, you know? And it's the same thing for everything, really. I mean, like, and here's another good example, you know. Oh, I'm sick, I'm going to go to the doctor. He'll give me some medication and everything will be better. Well, frankly, he's going to look at your symptoms and go, it's probably this. And he's going to give you something that will probably kill whatever that is. He doesn't know. Like, unless they actually take a sample from you and slap it under a microscope and do an assload of very expensive and very time-consuming tests, they ain't going to know what specifically it is. And even then, even if they know what specifically it is, it could be a subspecies or anything like that. It takes a lot of time, effort, and especially money to find out what any of this shit is. And I can give you an example of it. I'll tell you a story in a minute that will illustrate this point for you. And so, you know, they'll give you all these they might give you antibiotics. If you have a virus, you're fucked. I mean, they can give you a retroviral, antiviral, anything like that, but they kind of need to know what it is first, most of the time. And those things are fucking hard to make. They're expensive, and they can do some pretty nasty things to you. And that's also the true with antibiotics. Like, they're, you know, it's literally poison. It's poison. going into you. It's tailored to kill specific parts of you without damaging, the greater whole. But that doesn't change the fact that it's poison and that it damages you, And so people are always like, why the hell don't you go to the doctor? I'm kind of like, well, if I can't get better from this on my own, I'll go to the doctor. But if I can't, I'm going to do that because it's better to do it yourself and build up that strong immune response. If you're actually going to die from it, by all means, go to the doctor. They're probably going to be able to help you out. But then there are some interesting, exciting incidents where they can't help you. And this is where my story's going to get a little weird. So, right after I graduated from college, I noticed I had this weird little gap, this little divot in my gum line. And I didn't really think anything. I was like, oh, maybe, I don't know. I had no idea what it was. And I was kind of like, oh, that's weird, whatever. And then I ignored it because, whatever. And then, food started getting lodged in there. I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't ignore this so much. But I kept it. I was like, oh, I'll put it off. I don't need to do anything about this, blah, 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 blah. And I kept putting it off. And finally, finally my doctor, my dentist was like, yeah, you need to do something about this. This is not good. Okay, go see the oral surgeon. I was like, okay, I'm about to ride my bicycle down to Los Angeles and then to Phoenix in a week. They're like, we'll put you quickly. We'll do it quickly. So I get to the oral surgeon. Great guy. One of the best in the world. Like thousands and thousands and thousands of work done, and he's got like 7 rejections. He's like literally the best in the world. Literally. It's incredible, right? And the only reason I got him is because he's my dad's doctor. That's the only reason. Like if it was just me alone, there's no fucking way. And so, that's nice about the family connection there. But anyway, the point is that I went in to see him, and he's like, actually, well, I should say I went to a gum specialist first. And the gum specialist looked at that, he's like, this isn't me. No gum disease here. You need to go see somebody else. He's like, I don't want to alarm you, but this could be really bad. I was like, oh, good. Great. It could be really bad. And immediately in my head, I'm like, cancer. It's cancer. I'm fucked. So I go, after I visit, I go to the dentist. They send me to the gum specialist. The gum specialist writes me the referral to the oral surgeon. I go visit the oral surgeon, Dr. Baird. Great guy. Really, really genial. I see him, he's like, okay, well, let me, look at this, and pokes around a little bit. He's like, okay, let's take an x-ray. Takes the x-ray, and looks at the x-ray, and like, okay. I want to take a sample. And I was like, you want to biopsy this? He's like, yeah, well, cut it open, take out some, send it to a lab. I was kind of like, okay. I'm going to go ride a bicycle down to Los Angeles. He's like, that's a problem. And then I was like, well, I'll be honest here, I had a little bit of foresight, and I didn't eat anything today, thinking that something like this might have to happen. So you can put me under, and it'll be okay. I don't have any problems like that. He's like, okay, well, I guess we're doing it. And so, I'm a fainter. By the way, I'm a fainter. I try to give blood in high school. Actually, I shouldn't say, I've never fainted from giving blood, but I do go into shock. It's rather troubling because, as a person with hypertension and problems like that, I have to have blood drawn constantly, and it sucks. So what happened was, they drilled the hole in, pulled the shit out, and then kind of cleaned it up a little bit and sealed it up, and that was it. And I was riding my bike down to, and then I rode my bike down to Los Angeles, which is a totally different story, which I'd love to tell people about. But anyway, on the way down to Los Angeles, I was, messing with this thing, and then this little thing just popped out. This, redded wad just popped out, and I had a hole in my gums. I had teeth, hole, and then gums on either side, and bone below. Well, with some gum on it. And I was like, oh, shit, that's not good. Whatever. So, I do my bike ride, whatever, and then, Dr. Baird sends the specimen to the lab at UCSF. And, he's like, oh, we'll probably find out in a week or so. 3 weeks later, he goes, no, actually, it's even better than that. I'm sorry. After I got back, he's like, okay, well, I got the lab results in. Why don't you, this is after my trip, which was about a month long total, because I went down to LA, and then I ended up taking a bus to Phoenix, stayed with my grandparents for a bit, went to my brother's house in New Orleans for Mardi Gras for a week. And I went back to Phoenix, and then went back to LA, and then stayed there for a bit, and then rode my bicycle back up. It was a very long trip, and it was great. But my point is, I get back, so weeks and weeks after this, and he's looking at this report with me. He's like, "Yeah, I don't like this report. It basically doesn't tell us anything." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, it says benign spindle cell proliferation. I think it's kind of bullshit, really." And I was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Yeah, just keep an eye on it, keep clean. Here's a little, thing, and you probably have to take those out at some point. The 2 teeth around it. Take them out and get you some, some filling or some dentures or whatever, maybe implants, whatever's under whatever you can do." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I'm like, at least it's not cancer. And then I finally, looked up benign spindle cell proliferation. Shockingly, that is cancer when it spreads to the rest of your body. And I was like, holy fuck, I had bone-eating cancer in my jaw. And here is the ultimate irony. Do you know what they think caused it? Flossing. They think I was flossing and got some food wedged down there, and it caused a reaction, and that gave me bone cancer. Who knows that oral hygiene could fuck you so hard when it's like the end-all be-all of what you're supposed to do. Anyway, that's the end of this bit. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.